Hello, and welcome back to Kyber Codex. Today I have another lightsaber review, demo, and overview for you. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Starkiller hilt from X-Tech. This is based on Starkiller's hilt from the first Force Unleashed video game. It's available in 4 different finishes: fully clean, clean with heat staining, which is what you're seeing here, fully weathered, and fully weathered with heat staining. The top half of the outer shell is stainless steel, so this is real heat staining. It is not painted on. It doesn't come off if you try to scrub it off with, 99% isopropyl alcohol or acetone. The top half of this hilt was really gunked up with some sticky, clear residue when it came out of the mail, and I cleaned it off first with soapy water, and it wasn't getting all of it, so I discreetly tested a couple spots with 99% alcohol, and it started to take the residue off, and it wasn't doing anything to the heat staining. And then I tested some more spots with acetone, and it did no damage to the heat staining anywhere, but it took off that sticky, textured residue that was left on the top half of the hilt. I'm not sure what that was. Otherwise, though, the hilt looks beautiful, feels great in hand. The stainless steel shroud on the top half and the brass crystal chamber both add a very nice weight to the hilt. It does have actual shine through on the glass eye like a Graflex, and it uses this screw here for blade retention like a Graflex would. It does have stepped pins like a Graflex. There's 1 accent pixel in the crystal chamber. And then down here, the whole lower half is anodized aluminum, with color anodizing down here for the brass looking part. This is not a separate brass part. The fins here are applied with glue. There are not internal set screws holding them on. And there is nice hidden sound venting on the bottom. To access the chassis, you simply unscrew the bottom here and pull the chassis out. So you have 2 more buttons on the chassis for external operation, as well as a nice big kill switch. I do like that there's an enclosure for the speaker. Makes the speaker sound pretty good for being very small. This top cover that covers the battery protection board and the helper board that integrates these 2 switches is glued down, so you can't actually access those. But now they are leaving the battery exposed for quick removal. Still have the regular USB-C charging port. You do still have to turn the saber on to charge with that. And they have now switched to rotary chassis connectors instead of the little, almost 89 saber style stepped chassis connector that they were using for their removable hilts prior to these. And then the Proffieboard 2.2 is stored under this screwed down cover. It's really hard to tell, but right here there's a flat edge, just on, not even all the way to the end. So you can actually rotate this as it goes in, but if you see I have it, it won't go in any farther, it won't go in any farther, but now it clicks and locks. So you do have to still put it in buttons parallel to the buttons on the control box for it to actually click in and be affixed, but once it's in there, it's solid, it stays. Otherwise, this hilt is able to be disassembled right here in the middle. It unscrews. So you've got your rotary chassis connector in here, and that is right where you connect this. And it stays in there nice and securely because of that flat bit there. And the top half is noticeably heavier than the bottom half because of the difference in materials. The real brass and real stainless steel top adds quite a bit of weight to this hilt. It is top heavy, but it's also very long. It's the length of my entire forearm plus part of my hand, and I'm 6'1", so it's a big saber. It's I think about 14 inches long. It does come with a nice metal version of the like regular mass-produced blade plug that we've seen everyone from LGT to TXQ to 89 Sabers distribute. And it's got an acrylic bottom. I guess if you did ask me for my least favorite thing about the hilt, though, the accent pixel in the crystal chamber is actually neither wired independent of the blade side PCB, nor is it wired in series with it. It's wired in parallel, which you'll see when I show you the accent pixel's off behavior. The very first pixel on the blade side PCB also lights up even when I split them with a sub blade. There is no way to separate that in the config only. I would have to take apart the whole top half of this and desolder some stuff and rewire some stuff, which I don't really care to do. I'm probably just going to replace this blade plug with one that does not have shine through on the top, so that I'll just get shine through on the glass eye when I have the blade plug in. But you'll see what I mean here. We'll unscrew this pommel and put this chassis in. And so, a plus, you do get shine through the glass eye that matches the crystal chamber because of the parallel wiring. But as you can probably see here, the shine through blade plug means that you're also getting that down here on the PCB. So when you have a blade in here, the first pixel of the blade is also mimicking this when it's off, which is kind of unfortunate. One of these days, when I feel more motivated to do it, I'm probably going to gut this whole thing and put a V3.9 Proffieboard in here and redo the crystal chamber with a real crystal instead of this resin-printed one, and split this into its own separate data line that I don't have to code as a sub-blade. But for now, this works just fine. It's not a huge detractor for me. I could just also not code this with off behavior. But I like off behavior, so that's just for me personally. Otherwise, though, I've had quite a blast with this hilt. I enjoy it quite a bit. I'll grab one of my Graphlixes real quick so we can get a close look at them side by side before I do the blade demo and then come back for the final verdict on this. Alright, so here we are. We've got the X-Tech Starkiller over here, and then this is the 89 Sabers Graphlix Supreme. So you can see pretty similar shapes on the S-curve. The Starkiller's a little more rounded and a little taller than it should be, I feel. The sync pin ports, though, are in relatively the right spot. The general profile look, the silhouette, is there. The bunny ears are about the right dimensions lengthwise. The fake red button is spaced a little low, but not like super bad. I think that was just to make it a little bit more visually appealing with the control box added on here. But even the hole up here is placed pretty much right where it needs to be relative to both the end of the shroud and the bunny ears. Overall, this is a really good depiction of the influence of the Graphlix on Starkiller's hilt. I feel like this particular rendition of the hilt does that, and the thin neck here in the middle, a lot better than, say, the LGT or TXQ versions. And of course, you know, the ability to just get this with heat staining on the clamp ring and the shroud is really nice. Plus you can get it weathered or fully clean, or without any of that if you want to do it all yourself, which I'm always a fan of doing. So yeah, let's get a blade in this, take a look at some sound fonts and some blade styles, and then we'll come back for the final verdict on it.
the Inquisitor.
Trooper Electro Staff.
Alright, so final verdict on the X-Tech Starkiller. I mean, if I want to give it like a numbered rating, I'm going to say maybe like an 8. It's hard for me to rate it a 9 or a 10, just given the whole data line issue between the crystal chamber and the blade side PCB. And frankly, it's not the best sounding hilt I've gotten from X-Tech. The speaker in this one, I have to keep it pretty low. It gets crunchy at like 1200, so I keep the volume in my config at 1000 on this one. So it's a little quiet. I definitely need to crack open the bottom of that chassis and replace the speaker. So, you know, there was just more modification and maintenance work on this than I expected there to be on a hilt that cost as much as this did. I'm not complaining about the price. I'm just saying it's hard to call this one a 9 or a 10 when those two issues stand out to me, and I think if I couldn't install my own saber, then I would have to pay somebody else to deal with that after I paid all this money for this saber. So, like, it's not a bad saber. It's a great saber. I really enjoy it. If you have no issue with keeping the volume set to 1000 in your config, and have no issue with what I've already repeatedly explained about the crystal chamber data line, then by all means get it. Because it's super fun to swing around, it feels great in hand, it looks amazing. I cannot get over this heat-stained emitter. It just, you know, if you want it to be absolutely perfect, you gotta put in some work on this one. It is not out-of-box perfect like some other sabers. It is very good, and I would take this over the TXQ or LGT versions any day. So if you wanted something that was going to just be perfect out of the box right when you get it, you might want to shoot for something like a Warsabers Starkiller or a Raxus SK that's already been installed by a private installer. That's going to be a, you know, perfect Starkiller with no tweaks required. But if you don't mind doing a little tweaks, or don't mind those things that I felt like I should tweak, then by all means, this is a great hilt. It's not terribly expensive, although it's a little bit more than I would expect a hilt with that kind of wiring and this level of speaker to cost. I mean, overall, like, it is objectively a pretty nice hilt. I do think eventually one day I will want to redo the install on this one myself and change some things. But I'm not in any way, like, disappointed or feeling buyer's remorse on it. It's a great display piece, feels great to swing around, feels great in the hand, feels great on the belt with a CoverTech clip. The brass crystal chamber is beautiful. And it's a nice size, so I'll be able to fit a good size quartz in there when I do a full reinstall on this. The actual shine through on the glass eye was a nice surprise that I was not expecting to see. And I keep saying it, I cannot get over how much I like the heat staining on this. It looks really good. So ultimately, yeah, while I wouldn't call this perfect, I would definitely recommend it if you're into the design of this hilt, for sure. So once again, this has been Kyber Codex. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and may the Force be with you.